Hello, Trev here. I'm just having a sort out of some old papers and I found this, an old Alton Towers brochure, which is from 1980, 1987. Admission price for 1987, £7.99, and you can get £2 off if you book an extra day. Children under 3 are free, and £2.99 for senior citizens. So Alton Towers is somewhere I went a lot of times when I was growing up, and more recently, as I've been getting into YouTube, I've been following people like Theme Park Worldwide who cover theme parks. So I've been kind of really getting into this, the nostalgia of Alton Towers, particularly as the kind of biggest well, I guess still best theme park in the UK. See the corkscrew there kind of going over the towers. So I thought we'd just have a little look at this old map. I used to love these maps. Going over them and imagining them, so you can kind of see, those of you who know Alton Towers, sort of the the entrances there, and sort of the log flume and the Grand Canyon Rapids. But I will go through each of the sections on the pages and show you what's new this year, 1987. And the Black Hole and the pirate ship, which is now called the Blade, which is sadly coming to the end of its life. So a lot of these rides don't exist now. The log flume, sadly, is now the Wicker Man. Grand Canyon Rapids is still there. You can see, there's an octopus there. And Cine 360, I think it's called. There's one over here, Cine 2000. But yeah, the Blade, the pirate ship, is leaving the Alton Towers, which is the kind of oldest remaining ride there, which is now sadly past its sell by date, or whatever you'd call it. So the corkscrew is another ride that went for a long time. So the corkscrew was obviously the feature piece of Alton Towers for a long time, and now you can, if you go to Alton Towers today, you can see the actual corkscrew bit in the entrance plaza, and you can see here a monorail. I'll talk about that in a little bit. This dragon roller coaster, the Beastie, I think it was called, is now at Barrier Island, I believe. So yeah, some of the rides have kind of been sold and moved. So with Gavin and Stacey, I think, hopefully still operational. And yeah, so let's have a little look at this. Oh, so this thing here, Kiddy's Kingdom, I remember going to that. So I must have been 7 when I went here. So very different to how it is today. But you can see, like I say, the nostalgia in it. So what's really interesting here is all of the new signs. So this was obviously a really good year, 1987. Yeah, 1987, a really good year for Alton Towers. So hopefully the Sky Ride was new this year. Hopefully it's going to be back in 2025 after being closed for a couple of seasons. But yeah, that's really amazing that I kind of just came across this in a big pile of mess. Yeah, so that was the year it was new, and the same with the monorail. So the monorail opening later. I don't know if that means it was later that season, but the monorail 1987. So what's that? Like 30 years. Can't do my maths. 1987, 40 years. No, yeah, almost coming up to 40 years. Wow, you can correct me in my comments where my maths are wrong. But yeah, so that's coming to the end of its life, really. So you can see Tower Street and the fountains, Kiddy's Kingdom. So yeah, we've now obviously got CBeebies Land, and there's a big thing about Postman Pat Ride, which has obviously been around for quite a while, but was after my time. That's now getting closed to make a new roller coaster in CBeebies Land. But yeah, Tower Street still exists, so you can still get an essence of what Tower Street was like. And the now frog fountains used to be jumping fountains. So here, like going back in time looking at this, so you've got Fantasy World with the black hole, so that iconic sort of logo outside it, and some flat rides. Not really sure what that Turbo Star, maybe that was called. And the miniature golf was actually in the park, so they've now kind of moved the miniature golf and Cine 2000. I think there's almost a lack of a yeah, just a sort of cinema type thing. But yeah, look how they kind of really promote this ship, and now it's sort of being discarded. So so the sky rides on each section, because obviously the sky ride's got a few stops around the world in 80 days, which is now became kind of part of Scarefest. The Dungeons was open for a couple of years. I've never been to the Dungeons when it was open, but it was an upcharge, so people weren't that happy about it. But around the world in 80 days used this indoor boat ride, and then they were, you know, arguably going to keep that mechanism and sort of make it into something. But I think, you know, that was a real plus. There was also some musical there we are, yeah, the fountains, amazing. And those fountains were in sort of a sort of theatre, so they kind of quite high capacity things, which are now sort of missing at the park in terms of, you know, I mean, the fountains were sort of all automated, I imagine. So, but they were, you know, a highlight going into those sort of the dark ride. You can kind of see Victoria Street, Talbot Street, Victorian Street, sorry, Talbot Street. My first roller coaster, so the Apple roller coaster, Junior Apple coaster. Yeah, very cool. So the gardens haven't changed a lot, but there's a lot of kind of maintenance in the gardens. You can see it's as beautiful as ever, and as I'm getting older, I'm more interested in that side of it, the sort of history of Alton Towers. My gran used to be very into gardening, and she used to love walking around the gardens, while I guess I would go on the kids' rides. And you can see, look, so there's a sky ride station in. Let's have a look at the map, actually. You can see yeah, so you've got sort of the sky ride going from here to there. And I think that section was a bit older, and then probably the new bit there. But you've got this kind of brand new refurbished sky ride. Now Forbidden Valley and Nemesis is all over here, but they'd already sort of started planning. So the monorail is kind of, you can see, just starting to exist, which goes out here and past this bit of site. And I do remember, it may not have been this year, but a couple of years after, seeing them breaking ground for Nemesis, the original Nemesis, and that was very special. Thinking, how does a roller coaster, how does it work? You know, because we hadn't seen one of these sort of what's it called, a coaster where you're kind of hung underneath the track, because we're used to roller coasters like this. So that was, you know, what we were used to. So roller coasters where you sit in a car and go round and round. But yeah, so yeah, there we go, the Dragon roller coaster. So I think it was renamed the Beastie after it moved a couple of times. Chair swing, and yeah, the flying carpet. Used to love the flying carpet. So 1001 Nights, there we go. I was going to say, it's not called the flying carpet. We always used to call it the flying carpet, 1001 Nights. But yeah, another one, this is really interesting. So new, the teacups. So the teacup ride, so which has then changed to a pirate theme. I can't remember what it is now, but it's sort of in the Pirate Bay. They do quite a bit of stuff with half-term pirates. And in the Grand Canyon Rapids, you can see how clean it looks. So they've obviously changed it. This is before the Runaway Mine Train existed, or was built around it. And I really like the way the Runaway Mine Train interacts with the Grand Canyon Rapids, which is now the Congo River Rapids. But yeah, when it was still fairly new, this isn't, obviously it doesn't say new, so it's not the year it was released, but or the year it came out. And that, look at that lovely log flume. Yeah, I miss the log flume. So the log flume, and also it's sort of like really nice to see it with its log, because it was rethemed to like not Bubble Works, what was it? Imperial Leather sponsored it, and they made them like bathtubs, and I thought that's just I really like this traditional sort of look, and the same with that. Yeah, they've had big problems with sort of Grand Canyon Rapidy type rides, because yeah, obviously this guy sort of looks like he's standing up, but no, you shouldn't stand up on the ride. So there was a big problem, and then it meant that there needs to be a lot more staff around the ride, so it's very expensive to run the ride, really. So yeah, anyway, the swan boats, Can't really. I mean, I do remember them. You sit in the back of them, but yeah. And the Mississippi Showboat, which I was always scared of. I remember my sister going on it, but I never actually went on it, which is sad because then it disappeared. And yeah, it was like a fun house, I think. But I always had a jazz band, I think. But yeah, that kind of like the character. I really like the kind of character of some of these older rides, which you perhaps don't get in quite the same way. I actually like the teacups. The teacups is really good. You get a different sort of theming, I think, nowadays. Is that all of the rides? Yeah, looks like it. So we've got restaurants. I wasn't very interested in restaurants, but I'm sure my parents were. Is that Talbot restaurant? I'm not sure if that restaurant's not open anymore, but yeah, using the building spaces. Yeah, that's quite cool. They've got a railcar steak bar and the shops. So you've got some merchandise, just sort of more generic toys, a bit more like a fair, and sort of, you know, China doesn't look like there. It's not so much the kind of tacky themed mugs. So Sean from Theme Park Worldwide is very into collecting mugs, so I'm sure it has its place, but this looks like far more sort of yeah, sort of sophisticated stuff. And you know, you don't see the kind of big themed stuff in the shop. And yeah, so you've got here with the pottery studio, candle makers, so far more like into kind of hobbies and that sort of thing. Free camera hire, that's interesting. So you can hire a camera. Toy fair, World Bazaar. So yeah, it is far less branding, of course, but there is a little bit of branding, which we'll come on to in a sec. So first of all, entertainment. So again, the entertainment, it's the biggest day of your life. Wow, that's a big claim, with just a normal clown. And is that Terry Nutkins? No, it's not Terry Nutkins. Keith Chegwin? I think it's Keith Chegwin. You can say, yeah, but I recognise his face. I don't know who these people are, but yeah, so they had like what looks like far more wholesome, sort of less branded stuff, but there was some branding. Henry Hound. So again, this is something that Theme Park Worldwide and Sean and Charlotte, who run that channel, talk about a lot. But yeah, Henry Hound, I think, must be their original branded sort of Alton Towers mascot. So yeah, there's a Henry Hound's fan club. I wonder what they'd do if I sent that off. Now, after all these years, Henry Hound's fan club, and then if you look here, there's the address, Henry Hound's fan club at Alton Towers. Fill in the coupon with an envelope together with a check postal order. There we go. So if you want to join Henry Hound's fan club, I wonder where that will go. Now, but yeah, you can see Alton Towers is obviously still where it always was. The prices are now quite a bit more than that. And yeah, just a fine little look at the map, because I think, yeah, you can get a sense of the space and also kind of, yeah, the magic that you can discover things. Like, they haven't really gone into all the rides. There's new rides to discover. If we look down here, what's that, 118 rides and attractions. So, you know, things like the Octopus, Mississippi Showboat, Mississippi Jazz Band, so miniature railway. There's just lots of things to sort of discover, and arguably now there's a lot less in terms of like flat rides and just sort of capacity rides and things for people to sort of discover in the park. I've been a couple of times. Went a couple of years ago. I'll probably go this year, hopefully. But yeah, I'll maybe do an update as to 2025 Alton Towers. But this is back in 1987. Bit of a treasure. I'll keep hold of that. Okay. All right. See you soon. Bye bye.